For those who haven't worked with header wrap before, it is actually a woven fiberglass. Don't know. Yeah, you can kind of actually see the fiberglass hairs hanging off the side. A couple bit of health and safety precautions. Make sure you wash your hands after handling this before eating anything or touching your face or your eyes. It's much like fiberglass insulation, where it'll make you itchy as the little strands collect on your hands. The best way I've found to remedy that is to actually wash your hands in shaving cream and cold water, or maybe a hot water, cold water cycle. Another one that was suggested to me is coat your hands in baby powder, and that's a completely preventative measure, and you won't actually end up with as many little goobers on your hands there. So just be careful and use common sense. For those who are not familiar with DownPipes, they connect the exhaust system to your turbocharger on your vehicle, which usually is right against the catalytic converter. And here we have an extra environmentally conscious one here, as you can see by the intricate honeycomb weave inside. Now there are a few benefits to header wrapping your downpipe or exhaust system on your vehicle. Not the full exhaust, of course, but just the first 36 inches or so after it comes out of the engine. One is to keep down engine bay temperatures, of course. So the exhaust, I mean, of course it's still hot to the touch, but it isn't really cooking everything around it, which kind of leads me into reason number 2, which is that it keeps the heat inside. Well, why would we want the heat inside besides keeping things cold around the outside? Well, the reason is because when exhaust gas is hotter, it flows a lot faster. So we keep that heat in, turbocharger response remains quick. So here's our downpipe. And so I point the nozzle, the outlet, like at the block when I'm first putting it in. And see, so I'm still pointing at the outlets about like where the transmission axle cup sticks out, and then as I bring it more inwards, I start rotating at the same time.
Is there 3/8 ratchet sitting out?
Yeah, somewhere. I'm sorry, I'm not more helpful than that.
I'm right around where I was thinking.
Gonna make a liar out of me yet. I think the compressor housing is playing us up somewhere. Can you rotate that?
Try and get my little.
I know you have a long one reach. Push that towards the back of the car. Alright, damn it.
That was the way we did it last time.
Oh no, it's been like 2 days and I've somehow magically forgotten already how to do this. That or because it's that much fatter with the header wrap on it, it just doesn't fit.
Okay, let me get under there and see if I can pull it down.
If I go this way, it wants to kind of fit. Hold on. Yeah, hold on. I'm going to go back to the position I usually put it in with.
Oh, yeah.
And then I have to do this like flip upside down one way or another thing. Yeah.
Got it?
Almost.
Hold on.
I gotta clear the steering rack.
There you go.
Okay.
There it is.
Got that. So, put the downpipe gasket on. Do you want to get out the O2 sensor in the bung? is all interesting one-handed for sure.
Huh?
I said this is all interesting to try and do one-handed for sure.
With the camera.
Yeah. I'm doing it, but I'm not providing our viewers with a very good view. One. Tickle it from underneath. There we go.
Me too, or you?
I'll go down there in a second. Just trying to get this bolt most of the way in. We'll stick with 2 for now.
2 works.
Okay. So we have our wideband oxygen sensor, calibration resistor. So here's the X where I presume we're going to be okay clearance-wise. Okay. So here's the outlet of the downpipe that we just put on. You can see the clearance on the top. Clearance on the bottom. You can see the way that it's angled into the tunnel. We have this piece that goes on. And it ends up center in the tunnel. So where I put the sensor, and yeah, so I'm gonna have to put this down. Just check this. Okay, so where it ends up, the oxygen sensor ends up pointing its tail right about there. So it's really the most ideal place. There's kind of a notch in this corner, but there isn't much behind here, so I'm gonna check out. Do we have a hammer out anywhere?
Yeah. Big hammer.
Big hammer. Takes. We're gonna do some clearancing. Oh yeah, we're way good now. Cool. Go ahead and drill this out and weld the bung in, then I'll show you how to wrap stuff. Okay, so we're back under the car. O2 sensor has been installed. Please excuse the crudity of my welding. Looking in here, you can see how much it sticks into the exhaust stream. So just barely. Here's how it fits in the car. See. Oops. There's the V-band. It looks like I have just the right amount of space. It can travel up and down. And looks like it's not going to hurt anything. Perfect. So we are ready to wrap this. Okay, so our next V-band flange is on. So what we're going to do is take our roll of header wrap, soak it in a bucket of water. 5 to 10 minutes prior is fine. And once it's thoroughly soaked, what this allows us to do is stretch it a little bit and then once it dries it'll shrink, further tightening this up. So let's see. There's the invisible tripod.
He's wrapping my bubble.
So when wrapping up your header wrap, you'll want to start with probably 1.5 complete turns on the beginning end as evenly as possible before actually starting to go around your bend. I'll show you why. Pull it as tight as possible. And there we are. Now I'm started, and you can see that it actually holds itself on the pipe without any zip tie or anything like that. So after we make a complete length around, continuously pulling it tight, you can go ahead and start to make your spiral pattern. Now generally you want to overlap by about half. I usually go a little bit less. Keep pulling it tight and going around. Sometimes if you grab it like with your thumb and then you twist the whole pipe, you can further tighten on the pipe. You want this as tight as you can possibly get it. No exceptions. Now, since I have a bung hole here, I'm going to go ahead and do kind of an alternate angle pattern. So when I go around, you'll notice that on the first wrap, a little bit of the pipe is exposed. Get the tight area up in here. And now, with the angle that we went around at, it kind of allows us this exit angle where we can cut back across and make an X pattern back to the other side of the bung. And that will allow us the final coverage of this exposed area back here. Now let's see. I'm going to go around. Now we can do our finish angle here at the other end. Dunk. Okay. Cut. Now using my, what was almost a seemingly invisible pair of scissors, go ahead and make a cut. Now the header wrap does fray a bit, so how I solve that issue, back up here and re-tug. I'm going to cut just a little shorter. Because of this tight bend here on the inside, we still want to allow room for our V-band clamp to go around. And it will push this back some once the clamp tightens down, but we don't want to bunch up a bunch on an inside radius. Okay, so to prevent fraying, what I do is I'll roll the inside in, pull tight, and we're down, and that's it. So now what we need to do, put some metal clamps on. So I have here some stainless steel cable ties. I can pick it up with my wet hands and no fingernails. You'll want to use stainless steel because it's protected against corrosion. Take one zip tie. Go through. And you'll want to space as halfway in between as you can as possible. You may have noticed earlier that I had double ties on the other downpipe, and I'll get to that in a second why I recommend using doubles with these particular ties. Okay, so now that we're that far, we have to pull it tight. And I've noticed with these stainless bands, they don't pull tight like a plastic zip tie does, and it actually releases a little bit of slack. So let me grab my pry bar. Found a pry bar works best for this. So what I do is take needle nose and a pry bar, and then I push down on the tie itself with the pry bar, and then I'll take the needle nose, grab, and roll it in. And the rolling action takes up the slack while pushing down on the latch so as we don't bend it out of shape. And as you can see, it's nice and really tight on there. We end up with this bit of curly-Q mess. Just take this, clip it. You want to give it about a 1/4 inch of excess. And then you take that excess, double it over so you don't get cut on the sharp end, and then fold it up above the clamp itself. So that way it's going to back out on you. Has to do a little bit of work to get there. Okay, so that's one. Go ahead and do the other. And if you get this right around the bead of your weld, especially if you have no shielding gas like me, cheesy welder, and the welds are a bit beefier, you can get the wrap to actually pull tighter against the weld if you strategically position this. And I like to match up where my bands are, so I'll go ahead and rotate to this side. Get in position. Okay. Same trick as earlier. Pry bar, needle nose, twist. Now obviously if you twist too much there's significant risk in breaking the zip tie, so use common sense and best judgment there. Go this way with it, so with a little less. Fold it over, and we're done. Sometimes you end up with these little stragglers here. Just give it a little trim off. I'm going to go find more metal bands and double this up. And as you can see, our oxygen sensor hole worked out pretty nice. So this is pretty much ready to be installed on the car. That's how you do header wrap. If you have any questions about V-band flanges, turbocharger systems, or header wrap, let me know. We'll talk to you later.